The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 276. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a phenomenal lady on the show today. She is a writer and an author, and she's here today to share her story on self-confidence, and I'm just really glad to have her on so she can share her story and tips with us. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Victoria Namkung. Victoria, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Absolutely. I'm doing great. Thank you. Like you mentioned, I'm a writer and author. I actually live in Los Angeles. I grew up in Orange County, but my mom's originally from Dublin, Ireland, and my dad is Korean, but grew up in Hong Kong and Tokyo before moving to San Francisco, where he met my mom. And I've been writing my whole adult life. It's the only job I've ever had, so I feel very lucky to get to do it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Victoria, what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
You know, there's so many great quotes out there, especially, on social media, especially on Instagram. But my favorite quote is from the rapper Ice-T. And he says, "Remain humble, but still let these motherfuckers know." And I feel like that quote just sums up my whole existence right now. I think, there's obviously a complicated relationship, with misogyny and hip hop, but I grew up on hip hop, most people in our generation did. And I think it's really important to look to rappers for that sort of swagger and confidence, because a lot of times women don't have that from within for various reasons. And so I really like to look to people like Ice-T for that sort of motivation.
I love it. And rappers like Ice-T and Ice Cube and no, not Ice Cube. There was another guy, straight out of Compton. They had to let go of what they know to realize what their true purpose was, and look at where they are today. So,
Exactly.
love the quote that you mentioned. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
I think it's just a combination of knowing that you can do things well and realizing that, you have just as much importance and value as anyone else on this planet. I mean, of course, we have people who are presidents or celebrities or various things that feel very big and far away maybe from who we are. But I just truly believe that every life has equal value.
I love that definition. And it's so true. We all have value. We all can bring value to the table. And I think some of us feel like we need permission before we start anything.
Definitely.
Not realizing we don't need any permission. Just go out there, take action, and just start building whatever it is you want to do. And, everything else will fall into place. So thanks for sharing that. And Victoria, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
Well, I was thinking about this, and I was actually a really confident child. I think most of us are confident children, and something starts to happen to tear away at that, whether it's, family, society, going to school, bullying, like all these various things. And so I was a very confident kid and teenager, and I think that was largely due to being part of sports. I was a state-ranked swimmer, and so I got a lot of my self-worth from things that were outside of maybe my looks or, being a young woman. And I think in my 20s, as so many of us have happened, I was really trying to figure out life and what I wanted and dating and all these issues. And I definitely had a lot of self-doubt and feeling sort of alienated from a lot of groups of people, where I just didn't feel like I was going to follow this traditional path of, marrying after college and just doing whatever everyone else wanted me to do. And so I think it was difficult. And I think I a lot of times diminished my own success. I was very successful at a young age as a journalist and was writing for national publications like the LA Times and USA Today. But I did not celebrate that. I, for some reason, always felt like that wasn't enough, or I would deflect compliments. And I had a very hard time being direct with people, like very simple things like, no, I don't want to go to that party, or no, I don't want to go out with this person. I had a really hard time. It was like I was suffering from being too nice, which I think is something that so many women struggle with, because we're taught to be nurturing and there for everyone, and we're the caretakers, and I'm not a mother, but I'm still very maternal in a lot of ways, whether it's with friends' kids or even just friends themselves. I feel a need to protect them and care for them. So it was a rough time in some ways, even though I seemed like an outwardly happy person. I think my 20s were definitely a struggle at points.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think that's something we all go through, right? Especially as women, especially as Asian women. Like you said, we've been programmed to like take care of everyone else except for us. And it's like, a crime to say thank you when someone compliments us, right? We always say like, oh, I don't think you're talking about me. Oh, you didn't have to say that. Instead of just simply saying thank you, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's really hard for me to even be around women now who can't take a compliment. And it pains me to watch someone who's in their late 30s or even early 40s struggle with just saying thank you. Yeah. So I definitely think that's something we all can work on. And even if I feel like deflecting a compliment, I just refuse to, because I don't want to keep that thing going, in my group of friends. So I just say thanks and move on.
Love it. And it's so true, right? And it's like how you do anything is how you do everything. So that simple act of just saying thank you from a compliment, really speaks volumes too. And people don't realize that these small actions kind of reflect who you are. So it's really important just to do these simple things. When someone says you're pretty, a simple thank you is enough. And
Absolutely.
You just move on. So Victoria, what was that point in your life when you realized, you were worth more than you realize, you are successful, and, what was that aha moment in your life when you realized you can do anything that you wanted?
I think it just came with age and practice, of realizing like, wow, I've written hundreds of stories. I've been asked to contribute to various books. I've, written my own novel. Something just shifted in my 30s. And I realized that I was so busy being nice to everyone that I was sacrificing my own feelings and wants and desires. And so it wasn't really an active decision, but something just transpired to where I went from hating confrontation to being confrontational, of course, in a nice way, but just being able to say no and listening to my inner voice rather than just going along with everyone. And I know my limits now. Like, for example, I hate big crowds. So, people are constantly trying to get me to go to Dodgers Stadium for a game or go to Staples Center for a concert. And I don't enjoy going to things like that. I like smaller shows or smaller events or just being with my friends. And so I've just really learned how to just directly explain myself to people. And it's a really, really nice feeling, I have to say.
Yeah, it's so true. When you can learn to say no to the things that don't serve you, it is the greatest feeling in the world. I mean, we've been programmed to just say yes, 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 not even realizing what we're saying yes to. And then we end up in situations that we can't get out of. So, it's really important to say no to things that don't serve you, because then it's going to help you in the long run. And, with that realization that you had, what's your life been like now?
Well, it's really freeing. I mean, I just feel my default state is happy, and it takes something pretty big, to bring me down from that. The election is definitely wearing on me here, but I think it's a free, happy feeling, and I've had a long enough career now to know that, I am good at what I do. And so there's just not a lot that could intimidate me at this. I mean, even when I meet with fancy people, because I value myself and I have that inner confidence, I really don't feel like that person is better than me for whatever reason. I feel like, I just try to be a good person and have a life that I really love and enjoy. And it's what has allowed me to follow my dreams, like writing books. And, I think you just have to be confident to believe that people should read what you have to say, and Kim Gordon from Sonic Youth has a great quote that's something along the lines of, people will pay to see someone pursue their dreams. And it's so true. Like, people, they really want to support you. And when they see you just stepping outside your comfort zone or doing something unexpected, it really inspires and motivates them. And I've had so many young women come up to me at events or readings and say, oh, you inspired me to take a writing class, or I'm working on my first short story because I was really motivated by reading something of yours. And that really makes me happy, because I never had any Asian American role models, for writers or authors when I was a kid. And it wasn't until I got to college that I started reading Asian women's work. And, it was hugely inspiring to me.
Thanks for sharing that. And it's great that now you are the role model for other, not even just Asian American, just Asian women in general, right? I feel like sometimes there's not enough out there. And, if we just kind of like pull together and just be that change, be that role model, we can help other young women out there realize their own true potential and go out and go after the things that they want. So, I really appreciate that. And to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey of self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
I think the biggest tip I would give is don't wait for someone to give you permission to do something you want to do or to be the person who you want to be. I have seen so many people, especially in my teens and 20s, who were, living some sort of double life, or maybe they wanted to come out, but they felt they couldn't, or they got trapped in a bad marriage that, they knew they didn't want to be in. And I realize it's very hard to deal with those situations when you're, young. But I think that you really can't wait for the world to give you the life you want. You have to go out and get it. And nothing is handed to you. A lot of people tell me I'm lucky because I'm a writer, but luck has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's perseverance and determination and motivation and passion and all these things. And I've had just as many humiliations and bad experiences as I've had successes. And so I think, another tip I give a lot of people is to hang out with women who are 10 or 20 years older. And that's something that has been a huge influence in my life, because these women usually have figured life out already, and they can be really fun to be around and really inspiring, and they have great advice. So especially if you're a young woman in your 20s, let's say, if you know someone at work, or you have a friend who has an older sibling, or whoever it may be, just try to get around some people who are a generation or two older, and you might be surprised how much that helps you with your own self-confidence.
Those are all great tips. So thanks for sharing that, Victoria. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yes. So my website is victorianamkung.com. That's N like Nancy, A, M like Mary, Kung. And I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest. You can find me at Victoria Namkung. And all my links are on my website if that's easier. But I would love to hear from anyone or connect with people, especially people who love books or writing. That tends to be what I post a lot about. I also post a lot about Beyonce too.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. I am also a Beyonce lover. But
I mean, I had a friend who gave me some great advice when I was working on my novel, and she said, you just have to be Beyonce. And she just meant, even if you don't feel like Beyonce, you just have to have that confidence and that sort of swagger. And so I always think of that. And I know that Beyonce must have days where she doesn't feel like Beyonce, but I think she has been an incredible role model for women around the world, to channel that inner confidence.
I totally agree with you, and thanks for sharing that and all your info. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Victoria, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Victoria's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I just want to thank Victoria for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you, Sheena.
Not a problem. It was an honor to have you on the show. And listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll catch you later. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Get your free self-talk tape for building self-confidence by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.